Your thumbnail can make or break your video, and most of you are making one, if not all of these thumbnail mistakes. After making thousands of thumbnails for my YouTube clients and our own channels, the first common thumbnail mistake that I never make again is, drumroll, copying other people's thumbnails. Because then your thumbnail just looks like others and it just blends in. This is something that I see all the time. Person A creates a thumbnail, then crushes it. Person B copies it, and then person C. And now YouTube is flooded with the exact same look, and standing out at that point becomes even harder, especially if you're a small channel. Let's look at a couple examples. First, we helped our client Virtual Bacon come up with his unique video angle and then thumbnail on crypto to sell. And then in a matter of days, another creator copied the angle and thumbnail. And we're flattered because they also gave us a shout out, but still, here's another example. Go into YouTube and search New York City vlog or NYC vlog. You'll notice that most of the designs look very similar, but this specific one caught my eye because it's different. And think about it like this, about 80% of what viewers see when deciding to click is your thumbnail. So if you're just copying what others are doing, someone with more views and a similar thumbnail will likely get the views instead of you. Like when someone copied our thumbnail on our 16 mistakes video, almost exactly. So how do you make sure that your thumbnail stands out and doesn't blend in? Learn from what's out there, but make it your own. And honestly, use your intuition. What would you click on when you search something that you're trying to make a video on? Look at the fonts, look at the images, look at the colors. We talk about all those other elements in a bit. Real quick before moving on to mistake number 2, an easy way to check if your thumbnail stands out is just looking at it, or you can use a tool like TubeBuddy. I actually show you how to use this thumbnail comparison feature in my YouTube tools video. Go check it out. Okay, on to mistake number 2, not updating your thumbnails for several reasons. If your thumbnail isn't pulling in at least 5% click-through rate, it's time to update and refresh it. And if your thumbnail and your video is doing great, and then over time you see the CTR and the impressions flatten, then our team, at least with our clients, we always run an A/B test with a new thumbnail and a new concept. I also show you how to A/B test in that tools video, and then don't worry, I am gonna show you how to find unique ideas for thumbnails in the next series of tests. But in the end, designing your unique thumbnail is not super straightforward, which is why we created a foolproof system to design thumbnails that stand out, attract clicks, and actually work. And as I go through each of these thumbnail mistakes, I'm gonna share how you can fix it with a series of tests from our thumbnail checklist. And as always, we don't gatekeep on this channel because this is the exact system that we use to take our client from 17K to over 600,000 subscribers in 2 years. The free checklist is in the description. So did you know that around 80% of people use dark mode on YouTube and on their computer? So that's why mistake number 3 is not optimizing your thumbnail for dark mode. I was definitely guilty of this because I personally am a light mode user, but this means you need to test if your thumbnail still pops when the page is dark. If you don't know how to check, just click onto your photo at the top right of YouTube and then click appearance, and then you can switch it to dark mode. See how our 16 mistakes thumbnail looks different on light versus dark mode? Before moving on to the next mistake, I do want to recognize that every single video and every single channel are different, and it makes it harder to know what thumbnails actually work. And this is why thumbnails are constantly evolving. What might work today might not work tomorrow. But if you follow this checklist that's in the description, even as thumbnails evolve and what viewers want evolve, these logic and visual tests will still apply. All right, moving on to mistake number 4. So most of YouTube traffic is viewed on mobile. And the next piece of information blew my mind because the next most popular device to watch YouTube is TV, and then it's desktop, and then tablet. And also, more people watch YouTube on connected and smart TVs than Netflix. I know, right? It's crazy. So that's why thumbnail mistake number 4 is not optimizing your thumbnail for both super small mobile screens
and really big TV screens.
So to do this, you need to do the minimize and maximize test. So when designing your thumbnail, make sure after you design it to minimize it occasionally so that you can see it really tiny, and make sure that you can still read the text, you can still see what's going on. And if you can't, definitely adjust. But then make sure to blow it up into your whole entire screen wherever you're designing it to make sure that the colors and the design and the text isn't overpowering if it's seen on a giant screen, like on a TV. You can see this thumbnail here, how even when it's really tiny, you can still read what it says, and even when it's really big, it's still simple enough so people know what it's about and don't get overwhelmed. And if you need support with YouTube, there's several ways that you can work with me and my team. First, we do one-on-one coaching and are considering a group coaching if you are interested. And if you are a brand or a business, we are full service in our agency, and we can help you from ideation to thumbnail creation to title, research, and all of that, all the way through to scripting, editing, and then uploads and A/B testing. There's a link in the description to book an intro call. Mistake number 5, your thumbnail gives away the answer or does not spark curiosity. So your thumbnail is the first impression that your video makes, and a bad one can tank an otherwise really amazing video, and we do not want that. And so what your thumbnail needs to do is it needs to spark curiosity and interest and balance the viewer knowing what the video is about without giving away the answer. So we call this the curiosity test. And there are several ways to create curiosity, including FOMO, fear, desire, but it's really to make people feel something and then take action, which is the click, right? And the best way to do this is to make sure that each thumbnail has a curiosity gap. The curiosity gap is created when there's something that the viewer already knows, something that the viewer wants to know, and then the gap in between that they have to fill in and they have to click on the video to see it. And really, you guys, just make sure to balance intrigue, that curiosity, and then clarity, because it still needs to be super clear. It can't be too vague or else people just won't know what the video is about and then not click. And the best way to learn this is just by going to your homepage or your YouTube search page and then type in something in your niche, anything really, and then see what actually grabs your attention on your homepage, on your search, whether it's in text, image, or facial expression. There is something in that thumbnail that is piquing your curiosity. And by the way, this curiosity gap thing can be pretty tricky, so we do have a full video on thumbnail curiosity gap coming soon. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can always comment below if you're making any of these mistakes, if you're making all of them, don't be shy, because we're all out here figuring it out together, and that's why we are here to learn and grow. Mistake number 6 is an issue with your text. So this could be the text placement, the text color, the text size, the type of text, sans serif, serif. And I do need to note that not all thumbnails need to even have text. Like entertainment, lifestyle videos, if there's something intriguing enough about the image, which we'll talk about, you don't really need to have text. But for a lot of new channels, it is really good to add text because it gives the viewer so much more context about what your video is about. Okay, so rule of thumb is limit your text to 5 words. Someone needs to be able to read your thumbnail and understand it in like 1 to 2 seconds. And in our testing and experience, using bold, clear fonts that are neither too big or too small is the best way. But remember, do the minimize test so you can see that it's still legible on a tiny little screen. Also, sans serif font is much easier to read than serif. Also remember, people read left to right, so there is a left to right bias. So a rule of thumb that we apply is always putting text on the left, and then if there's an image, putting on the right, or text in the middle, but try not to put text on the right side. Here's one more thing to consider is that mobile is optimized for the center of the thumbnail. So what that means is when people are looking on mobile, right, it's the continuous scroll. So if you put text in the middle or your elements in the middle, people actually click on them more. Okay, this is a hot tip. When I have trouble coming up with what thumbnail text I want to use, yes, I go look on YouTube for inspiration, but I actually use a tool called Creator Hooks to help. This tool is actually made to write titles for YouTube, but I find that whenever I use the tool, I also get inspired with pieces of text that I can use in the thumbnail. Mistake number 7, the text does not have any keywords. So remember guys, Google reads your thumbnails. It's called optical character recognition, or OCR. So always try to add relevant text, remember, especially if you're a small channel, because Google reads this and then it knows what it's about and then it can show it to the right viewers. Remember, these algorithms are for the search engine and we want people to find us. Mistake number 8 is that you don't have enough relevant imagery. There's 2 main reasons to have relevant imagery, and 1, it's so that the viewer understands what your video is about just from looking and not needing to read. And 2, I talked about OCR earlier, and Google actually scans images as well as reading text. So always make sure to add graphics, icons, colors, pictures, photos related to what you're talking about so people can understand what your video is about in 2 seconds of looking, maybe even 1. Mistake number 9 is that you have too many graphics, or your thumbnail is just cluttered with too many icons, too many tool bubbles, and it's just hard for the viewer to understand what it's even about and what's going on. When someone looks at your thumbnail, they should focus in on one place first and then go look around. When there's too many things, their eyeballs don't know where to go and they give up and go to another video. So for example, go search how to become a social media manager, and you'll see that there's a bunch of thumbnails that have a logo for every single social platform, like everyone gets it. But truly, you don't need to include every single social platform in one thumbnail. There are other ways to represent this, like this one. Okay, I'm gonna quickly mention a tool that's helpful to see how successful videos have evolved, because likely there are videos that you see that are ranking number 1 that change their thumbnails dozens of times. You can see this on a tool called View Stats, which is Mr. Beast's tool, or you can use VidIQ, and then you can see all the evolution of their thumbnails. I want to give you a really good example with one of Mr. Beast's videos. They did a test where in this one thumbnail, they had a bunch of different cars and Lamborghinis, and then they did a test where there was just one, and the thumbnail with one Lambo outperformed the ones with multiple cars. I'm a big supporter of A/B tests, and we do this with every single client and every single video on our channel and our clients. I am publishing a video soon on A/B tests and how to truly understand YouTube analytics, because this is is a video that you guys have asked for, so make sure to subscribe because that one's gonna be really, really helpful. Okay, mistake number 10. The thumbnail doesn't have perspective. And what I mean by that is it's flat, it's 2D. And I know we're designing a 2D thumbnail, but it doesn't have to look flat because when you add depth and perspective, it makes it more interesting and engaging. So using graphics that are more 3D instead of 2D and it pops out, or like tilted, it just grabs so much more attention. All right, mistake number 11, which is thumbnail and title say the exact same thing. I see a lot of creators using the exact same text in their thumbnail and title. But honestly, if you do this, you're just wasting real estate in which you could be creating more curiosity. You see a lot of creators do this actually in the finance space. Remember, your title and thumbnail should complement each other, not duplicate. They're two pieces of real estate that can say slightly different things that can add to the curiosity gap of getting them to click. Mistake number 12 is that you're in your thumbnail, it's very unclear what your video is about, or it's just incredibly misleading. Do not mislead in your thumbnail or title. If you overpromise something and it's just pure clickbait, your viewers are gonna click off. And remember, YouTube doesn't even count a view until someone watches for 30 seconds. And if it sees that people are clicking in and then clicking off, that is not a good sign for YouTube to show that video to other people. Because in the end, the thumbnail can be the best in the world, but if your video doesn't get any retention, that's not gonna go anywhere. A great way to test if people know what your video is about just by looking at your thumbnail is just go ask your friends and family. Have them look at your thumbnail for a few seconds and then tell you what they think that your video is about. You're gonna gather tons of data. You can text us in your group chat, whatever. It's such a good way, and we do this as a team at GROUPHUGS. Humans can see color way faster than processing images or words, so colors are actually the first element that usually draw people's attention. And this does not mean adding more colors, please. This means adding contrast. So this is why the next mistake, 13, is colors are not contrasting or are too dark or too bright. So using contrasting colors to make text or visuals pop, even when minimized, is the way that you get their first attention. So use the color wheel to find out what colors look good together. Remember, the complementary are on opposites. Obviously, if you have brand colors, use contrasting colors and don't use too many. Try not to use more than 3, please. And then also black and white look really good together. And you can look at a few of our examples here that we make for our clients. All right, so continuing on, humans can recognize emotion immediately, and it can help grab attention and communicate the point of the video. So the next thumbnail mistake, number 14, is the emotion in your thumbnail is either too bland or too extreme or just mismatched. If you're adding a photo of your face, for example, match the emotion of the video with the thumbnail's curiosity gap. Like this, for shocked, or like for scared, But when in doubt, just smile. People love a smiling face. Okay, moving on. So YouTube usually cuts off the thin border around the thumbnail, and the bottom lower right corner is covered up with the timestamp. So that's why mistake number 15 is not being aware of where your elements are on your thumbnail and putting really important elements either at the bottom corner, like words or icons, or putting text too close around the edge. So something that is helpful is applying the rule of thirds by putting your most important elements along these grid lines. So you see the grid right here, this third and then this third. People are actually naturally drawn towards that. And so here's some great examples, right? A lot of people have text on one side and then the person's right here. Sometimes, if you're optimizing for mobile, people can put their faces in the middle, but then there's elements here and here that are interesting. Obviously, these are suggestions from our experience, and you absolutely can break any of these rules and test and try different things that work for you, because I will not pretend that I know exactly what's gonna work for you because I have no idea. I can only know by doing and testing. And remember, all these tests are in the checklist, so whenever you're making your thumbnail, just pull it out and check off each thing as you're designing the thumbnail. Okay, are you ready for the last mistake? It's critical for people who clicked on your video to know that the content matches what is advertised. And that's why mistake number 16 is not connecting your thumbnail to the beginning of your video. So make sure to incorporate either the thumbnail text, imagery, colors in the first few seconds of your video. It confirms to the viewer that this is in fact the right video. And sometimes I even use the exact same wording that I use in my thumbnail and my title into the beginning of the video. And it immediately builds trust. And remember, the trailer that plays when you hover over a video also shows the beginning. And sometimes I actually find myself watching a lot of the video just by hovering. It's kind of crazy how that works now. And the goal is to create the thumbnail, title, description with the exact same through line that carries into the video. Okay, thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do it, and see you in the next video. Bye.